Hari Om. So we are going to talk today about Jalandhar Bandha, also known as Chinlock. Jalandhar was a great yoga master and he is credited with the discovery of this lock. But if you look at the word Jalandhara, it's a Sanskrit word made up of two parts. Jala means network and Dhara, the one that is holding on to. So you can also understand the nerves, the network of nerves that goes through this throat region going up is controlled using this Jalandhar Bandha. This is also a very logical way of understanding the name Jalandhar. Now this Jalandhar Bandha is extremely important in the practice of pranayam. When you are holding the breath in Kumbhak, you must practice Jalandhar Bandha. This will prevent the bad effects of Kumbhak on your brain. It will prevent the damage that the breath hold can do to your brain. Now if you see Jalandhar Bandha, it is actually considered under mudra. And mudras are recommended for anti-aging and defying death. Now that's a very tall claim made by the Hatha Yoga texts. But if you understand this claim, it certainly takes us to genetics, certainly makes us understand the effects of this bandha on the brain and nervous system. There are lots of benefits of this bandha. The known benefits are, in the throat region, this bandha creates a very strong vagus nerve stimulation. Also, it puts pressure on carotid arteries, the arteries that supply blood to your brain. And because of that strong pressure on the carotid arteries and also stimulation to the vagus nerve, the overall effect of this bandha is very relaxing and calming effect. The vagus nerve naturally triggers the parasympathetic activity, influencing autonomic nervous system. Also, if you look at the pressure that it creates in the throat region, it certainly compresses the thyroid and parathyroid glands. And as we understand, thyroid is very important in metabolism. So this bandha will certainly influences the thyroid and parathyroid activity. Also, the effect of Jalandhar Bandha is very strong on your throat area, the vocal cords. So certainly positive effects will be seen because of the blood circulation that is affected in this area. The throat problems or vocal cord related issues will certainly be benefiting in this health related problems. Now, how to practice this bandha? In ancient book of Hatha Yoga Pradipika, the bandha is described in two ways. The first is akuncham kantha. Akuncham is contraction of the throat, which is many times missed when people teach this bandha. So contraction of throat, that will bring the trachea, the windpipe, slightly in front. And then when you bend slightly, you don't need to bend completely. See, I am bending completely, but it is showing no influence on the throat. If I contract it little bit and slightly bend forward, then it hurts. It's difficult for me to talk. So virtually what is happening, technically what is happening is this bandha is compressing and bending the windpipe so that the air cannot go out and the air cannot go in. And that is how you stop the prana from going out. And this is what is the purpose of lock. So we must make sure that we contract the throat and then bend slightly. If you bend too much, it will put a lot of pressure on your neck, which we should avoid. Now the technique is you can do it in any sitting position. Generally, it is done in pranayam practice, so it is done in a meditative pose. So the spine is upright, shoulders pulled back, chest open. Now in this bandha also can be done after inhalation or after exhalation. So antar kumbhak or bahya kumbhak. But it is always better to do antar kumbhak, that is after inhalation. If you do the bandha, it's much easier and helpful. When you become advanced practitioner, you can always do the Jalandhar Bandha after exhalation, that is Bahir Kumbhak. So I am going to show you the measure of how good your bandha is whether you can talk in this bandha or not. If you can't talk in this bandha, it means the bandha is correct. If you can talk, then there is slight leakage of the air. So I am going to show you that. So I am inhaling. Contraction of the throat, bend forward. There was a slight sound I could make. It means the lock was not perfect. So again I will try. This time I will try and contract it slightly more and then bending slightly in front. Exhaling. This time I could get the bandha right because my contraction was correct. So it's very important that we don't bend the neck excessively, otherwise it will again strain us, and these days our lifestyle, we are putting a lot more strain on the neck. So we should be careful when we practice this bandha. If you practice Ujjayi inhalation, and while doing Ujjayi inhalation, if you apply the bandha, there is more chance that the bandha will be correct, because Ujjayi inhalation contracts the throat. That is exactly what is the pre-requirement, the prerequisite for this bandha. So I suggest you to do Ujjayi if you are not getting it right, to get this bandha correctly. Now, though this bandha has great benefits for thyroid, for our brain, for autonomic nervous system, even ancient books talking about it as anti-aging, you need to be very careful with this bandha because it does put a lot of strain on your cervical vertebrae. So those who are having cervical spondylosis or neck pain will certainly not be finding this bandha good, so they should avoid this bandha. Also, if you have some surgeries in the throat, or if you have vertigo, the problem of vertigo where you feel little dizzy, then this bandha should be avoided, because this bandha does put a lot of pressure on your eustachian tubes, the tubes in the ear, and that can again affect the liquid in the ears. Generally, the vertigo is, of course, vertigo has many reasons, but one of the reasons is the disturbance of the liquid in your ears. So those having vertigo or some neurodegenerative problems, you should avoid this bandha, and that will be better for you. So again, practice instructions. Inhaling, this time I am inhaling in Ujjayi. Contract the throat, bend slightly forward. Check it by talking. I am able to talk, so the bandha is not right. So I release the bandha, exhale. This time again I will try and do it better with Ujjayi inhalation. If you notice, I added a little variation where I put my palms on my knees, I raised my shoulders up and slightly bend forward, putting my weight on my arms. What this does is, the raising up of shoulders makes it easier for me to bend the neck forward without putting any strain on my neck. Now, of course, I cannot completely avoid the strain on the neck in this bandha. There is one counter pose for this bandha, which is called Samakayasana. So you bring both of your hands next to your hips, again raise the shoulders up, the spine is upright. When I raise the shoulders up, the bend in the spine is reduced a bit, and my spinal muscles are stretched. But there is no pressure on them. There is no strain on them as such. It's just stretching. They're stretched. And I bend my neck back. This is counter pose for the Jalandhar Bandha chin lock. I do it for about 10-15 seconds and then release. This is about Jalandhar Bandha. Hari Om.